movement with Rachel from RAD Pilates. We're going to be using the chair and a long Theraband to do a quick movement session that's full body, and it's really about how you're feeling in the moment. So to start, I'm sitting on the chair, and I'm going to be facing sideways for a little bit so you can get a different view. So I'm going to take the middle part of the Theraband and bring it down to the toe and ball of my feet. I'm going to do the upper part of my feet, even part of my middle part of my arch and up. From here, sitting down, I'm in a neutral-ish position, pelvis, rib cage, head, finding what works for me and is comfortable for me. I'm pulling onto this so it's pretty taut already. There's some work to hold this here, and I'm also checking in with my wrists. From here, I'm going to extend my knee, lifting my foot up and then lowering down. As I'm bending and straightening, my back is staying pretty much the way it is, but you could always play around with that, maybe rounding for a moment and then coming up and getting a little bit of extension and then rounding and then extending. And then after doing that, what would it be like to find that neutral-ish position and then do a few with your back more stable? And then from here, leave the foot pointed. From here, we're gonna point the toes and point the ankle, and then we're gonna flex the foot and bring the toes pointing towards your body. Push and point away, and then coming back in. So we're sort of resisting as we come in and out, maybe going for 3 or 4 more, breathing continuously throughout. Big inhales and exhales. 1 more, and then bring that down. I'm gonna put my other foot onto the Theraband before I take my other foot off. And then I'm gonna continue with that same thing. From here, I'm going to lift my other leg, extending that knee, and then lowering, bending. Lifting and straightening, lowering and bending. This one I'm gonna round over. The leg comes up, I'm gonna round my upper body. And as that foot comes back down, I'm going to extend my upper body. And again, round and extend and round, extend. And then a few more, keeping the back in that neutral-ish position. From here, leaving the foot up, we're gonna point the toes and then flex the ankle. Point, flex, point, flex. Maybe a couple more. See how this feels as you're moving, and then maybe 1 more. Bringing that foot back down. So I'm gonna do a quick piriformis stretch without this, but I'm gonna leave my Theraband nearby. And so I'm gonna bring 1 leg up. I could have always used my Theraband to lift up my leg or grabbed a yoga strap. From here, I'm staying in this hip hinge. So I'm in an extended spine position, and then I'm hip hinging forward to start. Breathing in. Maybe holding this position, maybe getting some more movement while you're in here, and coming out of that hip hinge and then coming back into it. I like to get movement within shapes. And then from here, round over the legs for a moment. Big inhale and exhale, lifting back up. And again, inhale, rounding over and coming up. I'm gonna lower this leg down. I'm bringing my other leg up, and I'm going to go into that extended hip hinge to start. Breathing into that shape, I'm gonna come out of it and back in, using my arms to sort of help me. And then from here, I'm gonna round over. I'm gonna go in a range that works for my body. I want you to listen to the feedback in your body and go into a range that feels sustainable and comfortable, and adapt that, change that range, move a little bit out of it, and then coming back up, bringing that leg down. From here, we'll grab back for our Theraband, and I'm gonna readjust my chair forward. I'm also going to take my Theraband, find where the center, where the middle of that Theraband is, and I'm going to lay that on my chair and sit on it. So I'm sitting on top of the middle of my Theraband, and I'm gonna take a moment here, and I'm lifting up my hands and finding a position where I have some tautness as I lift, but then I'm out of that tautness as they lower. And from here, we're gonna go into some roll downs. I want you to lift your arms up, round forward over your legs, flexing your spine, rounding over, coming down to a place that feels comfortable to you, grounding in your feet, stacking up from the low spine and coming back up. Let your arms go to the side. I'm gonna readjust my chair sideways again to give another view. From here, reach the arms up. We're gonna round and dive over. You might go in and out of the tautness of the band, that is okay. And then lifting back up, and then arms come down to the side. And again, reaching up, rounding over, stacking up from the low spine, arms come down to the side. So from here, we're gonna move into some thoracic rotation with our arm reaching up. So to start, let's bring our hands behind our head. And I'm barely touching my head because I tend to push my head forward. So I'm actually gonna press my hands back a little bit. And my right arm's gonna go forward as my left goes back. And then I'm gonna move through center and go the other way. Inhaling, prepare. Exhale, switch. For me, I have to really check in with my legs. I want them to have some work grounding down, but I don't want them to take over and have a lot of movement. And then going back and forth. Maybe you do. Explore the shape and decide what works for you. I'm gonna let my arms separate and move away from each other, and then my gaze is gonna come and face the side of the arm that's back. So my other arm's forward. I'm gonna sweep one arm forward, one arm back, and look back. Sweeping one arm forward, one arm back. And it's gonna go in and out of the resistance band tightening, and that's okay. That actually gets us prepared for some other work on the reformer where the straps go in and out of being fully engaged. And so we're getting used to what that's like to have that engagement of the Theraband, and then also what it's like for it to disengage. Getting that tactile feedback. And then coming back. So let's do a little bit of extension and flexion. Let's start with rounding over in our flexion. Maybe we even want to go a little bit lower on this so we can have more resistance. So I'm rounding, and then I'm going to lift up, and I'm going to extend. A bunch of things snap, crackled, and popped, but it felt good. And then rounding forward, and then lifting up, and again, rounding, and then extending. Maybe move through that 3 or 4 more times. The band makes everything more intense. What's awesome is some of this looks like really small movements, but the band really just adds so much feedback to it. From here, I'm going to bring my hands back down this so I have a lot of resistance, and then I'm gonna press the band straight up, bending the elbows towards the body, coming back down. I'm gonna lengthen my arms all the way before I bend them back up and lift, and then lower, and then lift, and then lower. Maybe going for 2 or 3 more. And last couple. And then last one, lift the arm up, reach the arm out into this hover T position, then lift it right back up. Lower, bending the arms down. Reach the arms up, bring them out to that T shape. Lift them back up, bend them close to the body, bring them down. Reach them up, out to the side, lift back up, lower down. You have 2 more if you would like to. If you feel like taking a break, take a break. Do what works for you in the moment. Maybe it's a good time to get a drink of water. Lowering this down. I'm gonna take a breath because that was intense for me. And then, so we're gonna readjust where we have the Theraband. We're gonna bring the Theraband, we're gonna still have that middle part, but I'm gonna bring my feet into a parallel position and have the Theraband underneath my feet. So I'm gonna hold on to this and I'm gonna hold on to the sides of the Theraband, bend my elbows in and sort of bring them towards the side of my body. I don't want to squeeze anything in. I'm just bringing them to the side of my body and they're gonna stay there as I lift up. Inhaling, prepare, leaning a little bit more onto my feet and pressing up and standing, extending throughout the front of my body, hips, and then I'm gonna lower back, reaching my butt back, a bit of a trust moment, and coming back down. This is why I say use a stationary chair and not one with wheels, because it could move away. And then make sure it's in a stable position too. And then press down to stand up, lowering down. Notice that it's just as much work with the press down. That press down's happening the whole time, even more so when we're bending down. That connection. And then one more lift and lower. If you'd like, you could always extend the arms all the way up and lift. But if you do this, check in with that rib cage and then lower and lift and lower and lift. Coming back down, lowering the arms. From here, we're going to switch to having just one leg on the band. So I'm gonna move around and face a different way. And I'm going to have just, it's underneath. I'm gonna have just my right foot with the band. And my hands are on both sides. I have some resistance already here. I'm already feeling that tautness. This other foot, my left foot, I'm gonna put my toes down, heels up. And I'm going to stand on this leg and come into a standing position, the heel's still up on this foot. Lowering back down and lift. Maybe you wanna add to this. Maybe this is more than enough. If you'd like to add to it, when we're sitting back down, we can bring this left leg up and we can, yep, that can happen. And then lowering back down. So my body wanted to make lots of adjustments. We'll see how this next one is. And we're gonna lean forward and come up. And then lower back down. And then lift back up. I really like that wobbly instability moment that I had because it helped me build some proprioception and also interoception about keeping going. And I think we need that. And it's also good to see our teachers have trouble with movement, right? Because it's part of their learning process. And these are skills and they sort of come and go, you know? And then down. We're gonna go to the other foot. This is also really hard. Let's be real about that. This could be considered some sort of a beginning movement, but this is really difficult. And I think a lot of foundational work is really hard and that's okay. But then let's adapt the work to work for you. So feel free to comment if the series doesn't work for you. We can add on and do other things and bring in a dowel and other things to adapt the work. So let me know. So I'm on the other foot. I have my left foot pressed down. I'm gonna lift the heel of my right. And then I'm coming into that standing position, lowering down. And lift and lower. And I'm deciding how much momentum I'm using. I'm using enough to get me up. But if I added a lot more, it might bring actually more instability for me. So notice how much momentum you're getting to lift. And then if you'd like to add to it, lift the leg, take a breath, welcome whatever happens. But if you feel like you're gonna fall, please bring that foot down. Bring that foot back down. Coming onto that leg and lifting up, and then lowering down. Lifting up, so I'm actually adding a little bit of momentum here because I need it. And then lowering down, and then lifting up And if you can, I don't know if you can, but my elderly cat Augustus is meow crying in the background because he decided that it is time to be fed right now. We only have a couple more things to do, so he can wait a second. But if you hear a cat meowing, it's Augustus. And then lifting up and lowering. And I will just say this, that doesn't get easier. Some movements, after you do a few, you get some muscle memory going on. That's not how that is for me. That's how hard no matter when I do it. So from here, let's reach our arms up with the band in our hand. So this is different than if the arms are kind of in this position, not moving, not reaching apart. Decide what you want to do. Both are totally available. So I'm gonna reach over to my right side and then lift up through the center, going to the other side. I like to start without opening the band more, but we can do that in a moment. If you'd like, you could already do it now. And I'm gonna go back over to my right, and then I'm going to reach my arms apart even more as I bend over, and then coming back up, and they'll separate more as I go over, and then lifting up and over, and one more, and coming back up. So let me know what else you'd like to work on in the comments, and I'll share more movement with you soon. I hope you enjoyed working with a longer Theraband, resistance band, and a chair. I think that these are one of my top 5 favorite props. So I hope you enjoyed this quick movement session, and let me know in the comments. Bye.